Well, while I'm hopefully trying to find out bits about my past, because it does interest me that I'd like to know, we get NASA giving us this silly bubble. Not only is there faces and things in there, we get a penguin. See faces, things. If the whole video, it's on Unscrambled, you see it more, but look at that, a penguin. And then we come along to this. I mean, just look at it. In 1893 we were building this, but looking bedraggled, not looking like we built it. I mean, we just accept the narrative, don't we? But this ride, which I'm going to show you what they're saying, in 1893 could accommodate 2,000 odd people. Oh, there it is. See that one there? That's the one they constructed afterwards, or that's the one they put up afterwards, and it was nowhere near the size of this one. I mean, wow. And it looks pretty safe to me. What it is we've all realised as we have started to wake up, like they've told us, like the pyramids, the Egyptians, whatever, and their burial chambers, but they're not what they're not. They've been turned into this, but the Egyptians came across them. The people found them. They didn't make them. They just acquired them. And this is exactly what's happened to us. We have acquired this stuff from the past, but guess what? They've destroyed most of it because they don't want us to realise. You know, it's probably like a double wheel size today. I mean, have you been on a double wheel? Just look at the steelwork. I know it's not the biggest, but look at the steelwork in there. Look at this thing that they were building in 1893. This, right, and these buildings here and here do not fit the people. Well, we're calling it now Tartaria. Our whole history they've covered up, which I've trying to say to you on the on the other posts I did about the children and the trains. But I mean, wow, what it is just, I'm just going to whiz it on in a moment, so you can stop this and read it for yourself. There was 36 passenger cars, each fitted with 40 revolving chairs. 40 revolving chairs, and able to accommodate up to 60 people, giving a total capacity of 2,160. Streets are empty there. Told you, when you actually look at the pictures, you won't find many people in it. But look at the magnificence of this thing. I mean, look at the weights. Read it, the history that they're giving us, but look. I mean, that sounds futuristic, doesn't it? Like I said, it was destroyed by fire and whatever, but whatever they wanted to say it was, because now they lie. And like I say, some buildings 9 acres big, but anyway, nearly all of this, none, there's a couple of buildings left, that's it, from this whole beautiful place. They're still here today, even though it was supposed to be just put up for the exhibition. But this was like amazing in 1893. Or did they just come across it and have to destroy it so that we never knew the truth? It covered nearly 3 kilometres, featuring 200 buildings that they built temporarily, so they say. Neoclassical culture, canals. The Chicago World Fair is often called the fair that changed America. It spanned 600 acres and included fairgoers to wanderers of electricity, such as elevators, the first electric car, products we now take for granted like like the zipper. Reading it as American, but zips to the UKers. Cream of wheat and Cracker Jacks, and presented viewers with a look at Edison's kindoscope and a listen to the first voice recordings. The Midway was also home to some less seemingly exhibits. For example, people of faraway nations put up displays like animals, Eskimos, Zulus, opium smokers from China. The fair's lasting vestiges are beautiful specimens, and if the Court of Honour was a ring, the Statue of the Republic was its jewel. In the Victorian era, they erected over 200 buildings. I mean, just have a look at some of these buildings and what it was. I mean, this place was absolutely amazing. I find it quite amazing. In the time it was open, over 700,000 people came, and it made a profit of equivalent to about 14 million pounds, dollars, whichever one, I suppose dollars, isn't it, of today. It had the biggest stove, was a 15-ton wooden model of it. All of this got destroyed by fires after this storm moved over the area. It basically said that the paint was still drying as the people came in. Personally, I don't think they would have been able to have built all this. They basically built a town. Well, that's what they're saying, is they built it for this exhibition. But some say that it was already there. It was huge, 2.8 kilometres. And so basically after these storms and fires went through it, only a few buildings were left at the end of it, and they're still standing today. The Museum of Science survived. A bridge survived. And what it kind of says here is, after all, it was at the White City where Nikola Tesla's game-changing alternating current, which was chosen over Thomas Edison's direct current to power. That's what he won. Tesla won. Literally gave light to the fair at the same time. The lighted streets were all still quite novel. What they were saying was that this kind of electricity was still novel and untested. That's what they're saying. People like Owen and people, this is Trouble About's channel, which we're going to play a little bit later on, don't believe the story that they've been told. Now these people are Australian, and they reckon they've got Tartarian, and they even reckon that this was this is a pyramid. These stones are from a pyramid. So our whole history has been covered up. All of it. I did read or listen that the winner makes the history. So they've decided to omit the truth, and it's completely different to what you've been told. Completely. Anyway, let's just play a bit of Australian Tartarian, if not much older. And if you imagine they've only been there since the 1800s, then yeah, where did all the other things come from? And the thing is, within a very short period of time, they had built all these buildings. I mean, when you look at these buildings, some of these buildings are built much better than they are today. These people were craftsmen, right? But we were in rags or poor. None of it adds up. You need to do your own homework. But anyway, let's just play a little bit of Australia that they don't show you. Well, they don't show you in the right perspective. Before I get to the Australian bit, I just wanted to show you a little bit of the Dome in Brighton. It's a most amazing place. It's called a pavilion as well. It's supposed to have been built in the 1800s. You know, when we're poor, in rags and carts, and hardly anybody seems to have electricity. And yet this most amazing building is there, and very Indian-like. Now, they'll have their history for it and when it's built, but just look at this place. Just look at it. It is most amazing. most amazing that we were building things like this in the 1800s, or even whenever this was built, because the date's going to be a lie. But just look at it. Obviously I've been there, I used to live near there, but look at it. So they lie and they lie and they lie. Just look at this building. It is amazing. Yet we were able to build all this then, but we couldn't really build it today, and the money it would cost to build it would be billions. So they're never ever going to, I mean, look at this. They're never ever going to tell us the truth. And I mean, if I just showed you this, you'd think that you were in another country. So, Tartaria. Anyway, they don't really talk about it like that, and people only believe the narrative they're told rather than even just looking at these buildings and looking at the people. But let's go on to the Australian bit. I'm just going to stop that bit right in the middle where we get into this bit of this church that Owen is going to show us in Australia. This is Notre Dame, okay? It's been burnt down now. It burnt down last year. I think it was last year. And it had these most amazing ceilings. Like, oh, look at that. But you know what? Some of it was added, so some of those ceilings weren't quite as old as other parts of this most amazing building. Amazing structure. Now, they want us to believe that it was built, well, I'm going to show you in a minute what age that they're putting on this church. Now, all the way back then, we're able to build things like this. We're poor, we're in rags, but we're able to get these. Wheel, as Australia, as we're going to look in Owen's church, considering they've only been there a couple of 100 years, these ceilings are so like what's in Notre Dame, unfortunately. Look at that. We were building that in 1163. 1163. What happened to us if we could build things like that? And now, back to Owen's church. Wow, who would have thought of pyramids in Australia? Who would have thought that? Well, I've shown you on Unscrambled, there's pyramids all over the UK, there's pyramids all over America, there's pyramids all over Europe and in Thailand and Malaysia, and there's even pyramids in Australia. Into the next county from me, Wiltshire. Not only is there Silbury Hill, Kennet and Avon Long Barrows, the Avebury Stone Circle, and I think Stonehenge is in Wiltshire. We get these white horses. They're basically around Marlborough and on in Wiltshire. But there is one in Berkshire, supposed to be the oldest one. Can't remember what it is, I'm sorry, I'm really tired. It's really late in the morning and I should be in bed, but I just wanted to finish my video. But look at these white horses. They're supposed to be really old. And I mean, why would people put them in? I mean, wouldn't that take rather a lot to, even if you were going to do it today, it'd be still quite a big thing to do. Now these horses, I've been to some of them. They are there, right? And where's the best place to see them from? The sky. So we're primitive and everything, but we still manage to make these things. So, oh, wouldn't you just love to really know what all this is about? Anyway, thanks for watching, and leave your comments below.